Ladies and gentlemen, season 3 of the Bottom Line is upon us. We are, I think, 30 days away from the NCAA season starting, and we are 1 day away from a preseason football game between the Chargers and the Detroit Lions tomorrow night. It's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be a fun season. So let's get her kicked off.
And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're gonna get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Episode 1 of the new season is here, but I would be remiss if I did not mention Big Daddy Ed is still recovering. But he will be back with us real soon. I'm sure he's watching, probably gritting his teeth that I've got full control of the show. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, especially since we've been having so many storms in the area. We already experienced some technical difficulties earlier on, so if that happens, stick with us. We'll be right back. But enough with that. It's time to bring on the guys. And I suppose, since it has been a long time since anybody has seen this guy, let's bring him in first. Sir Chad.
What's
How's
up?
it going, bud?
Pretty
Does it feel
good.
like forever and a day since you've been here?
Forever and a day plus one.
Plus one. Chad is obviously in Iowa with me, and it seems like we get about 1.5 inches of rain every, what would you say, Chad? Every other day?
Every
Seems
other
like it
day,
rains.
sounds about right. Yeah.
Lightning, thunderstorms, high winds. You know,
Yeah.
we're dealing with that again tonight after I think I dumped almost 2 inches out of my gauge last night or this morning, and it's raining as we speak now. So, also going to be on the show tonight. Here he comes. The man that's going to wear the shades and the Houston hat, I think, all season long. And Texas Tech is probably going to run away with the Big 12. Listen, that team is bought and paid for.
Real.
Texas Tech is bought and paid for. It's got billionaire money behind it. I have already packed it in. It is Texas Tech and everybody else.
Take note, Red Raiders fans. Eric's just boosting your ego so that he can beat the crap out of you later when you fall flat. That's
No, I mean, but we've talked about this in the past, okay? And I think probably maybe we all feel this way. I was I'm that 50-50 guy. I love the NCAA and I love the NFL. If I had to give up one or the other, I would take the NFL, but I love them both. But the money that is now flowing into college football is seriously ruining it for me. And this plain fact of the matter, Iowa State is never going to have a billionaire back them. Iowa is never going to have a billionaire back them.
I can respect. Yeah, I won't disagree with your take on that.
So that means no matter how good a job a Matt Campbell does or a Kirk Ferentz or whatever school we're talking about, they're almost dead in the water. I mean, if you look at the signings and stuff Texas Tech has had, it's like 4-star, 1 5-star after another. It's like that never happened before. Why is it happening now, Chad?
Yeah, I can't. You say this, and I brought it up before. I'll say it again. Iowa State's an engineering school. Engineers make a lot of money. They need to start ponying up.
But
they create things. They run things. Come on,
engineering money, oil money, engineering money.
As you say, money. There's tiers and echelons. You could give Eric a slight disagreement in the fact that Iowa State clearly has a good football culture to their school, whereas another university of similar discipline may not. But in the same token, the BFE component, which is still, I guess, goes against Tech, but then if you know Texas, you know why Eric's made the comment he's made for them. All that to say, I think specifically for them, I think it's still a matter of being overrated, in my personal opinion, just because the thing that NIL is doing, I guess, in my eyes, is it's a double-edged sword. While I will say from a purist standpoint, yeah, it's going to theoretically ruin college football. For fans like myself from schools like this one, it's a godsend. And in the general landscape, I think it will automatically create greater parity than we've seen the last 10 to 20 years of college sports. Without a doubt.
I can't disagree with you, KJ, but I will tell you this. It has only created parity now. Like, if you are a Texas school, for example, and in the next 2 or 3 years when this money really starts flowing in, if you're not good, I mean, how? There has to be oil. Either the oil guys aren't ponying up or something. I mean, $1 billion oil guy in Texas Tech eliminates how many engineers if they were to give to, and you still got.
No, I understand what you're saying. I guess the flip side of it, though, is we look at a team like Dallas in the pros. Jerry Jones is loaded, but that team hasn't been able to do garbage for how long? Money isn't always the final dictator. Yes, it's very much at the high tier, top 2, top 3, whatever.
Well,
all that to say, though.
Yes, I mean, but the colleges don't have a cap to hold them
back.
Okay.
Now, if you were to unleash Jerry Jones without a cap, then you might have another.
Okay, I can concede that. I didn't really. That's
why. That's why college needs some sort of cap on this. They we talked about this a lot last year. I'm sure it's going to be a big conversation again this year. But they have to rein this in. They have to, before the federal government comes in and fixes this, they need to fix it. And it could be, that might be the death nail of the NCAA in big time college football. Because, as all the fans of the show know, I talked endlessly last year about this subject, that I think eventually the big conferences are going to tell the NCAA to go take a flying leap, and they're going to start their own thing and do their own thing, and they're not going to give all that money to the NCAA.
Yeah.
Because what do they get out of it? The NCAA does nothing but mess everything up, just like the NCAA is like the federal government. Everything they touch becomes trash, becomes complex, becomes overwrought, becomes a big bureaucracy of trash garbage.
And a lot of people taking money away from it.
Yeah.
You
don't know where it all goes.
You don't know where it all goes, but people are getting rich off of it. I mean, and like I said, we've talked about this, but I agree with Chad 100%. The NCAA overreacts on everything. So he's 100% right when he says the federal government thing. It is. And, before it was like you can't even get a job as a college player. Can't get a job because they're going to be shoving money to you under the table. And instead of saying, okay, let's pull that back a little bit and come somewhere in here.
In the middle.
Oh no, we're not doing that. We're going to go clear over here and make it the Wild West.
Right.
And if you're a billionaire and you love Texas Tech or whatever team we're talking about, you can buy the best players. Now, you are correct, KJ. Just because you buy the best players does not mean it's going to mesh. It's going to be great, whatever. But man, does it give you a leg up.
For sure. No.
Man, does it take your starting point from everybody else to here. Now, the coaching staff still has to work with those guys. The coaching staff still has to make it a go. But it is really taken the edge off of me when, like I said, when you come from Iowa State, there's no oil money coming to Iowa State. There just isn't.
Right.
We're farmers. Yeah, we have engineers and veterinarians, but
the one lifeline I can throw you, Eric, is the big industry now that's been booming, partially thanks to people like Elon, but in general, is these mega-sized warehouses that are nothing but data centers for all the new AI and Chat GPT or whatever. I mean, if those continue to boom, your rural areas like y'all's neck of the woods could see a large influx of capital, and that may be a ancillary silver lining to schools like Iowa.
Let's hope so we can keep up in the arms race.
Get the investors in the data center world to come sponsor the school.
Okay, we're gonna get the hot topics kicked off here, and we're gonna try a little something different. Our first hot topic, and I'm sure everybody's heard this on the news and whatever sports programs. Deion Sanders, coach for Colorado, was diagnosed with bladder cancer, hit it pretty well, but is now on the other side of it. Sounds like the prognosis is good, but I am going to turn the show over now to the fellas and let them talk a little bit about Deion Sanders.
Well, the first thing that I want to say is, how's he going to do this logistically? They removed his bladder. What the heck?
He spoke on it briefly in the interview I watched the other day. They did a live stream of the interview with his two, I think it was his doctor that he had, and then one of the other med assistants for the athletic program. They may have both been connected to the school, I think, but one was his doctor. I know for sure that he basically worked directly with during the time he was getting, I don't know if he got a testy cut off or how that all worked, but they
removed his bladder.
Yeah, they partially touched on it in respect to he was carrying around a bag during that time, and I think he may still have to your point, some type of exterior ancillary collection device. I mean it'll look wonky at games. I can give you that. If that has to be maintained and there's not some way to aesthetically conceal it or what have you, then
I'm sure they'll figure out something.
They will figure out a way. Medical stuff.
He'll wear the big bib overalls he was wearing in that press conference. He'll wear that on game day on the sidelines.
Worst case, if you see him in a cowboy hat every game, my pick would be that it's up in his head.
maybe.
Right.
But we'll see. What the interesting thing for me about Deion, besides the medical issues, is we're going to see how much he loves and wants to coach, because his boys are gone. Travis is gone. So how much does coaching and developing these kids mean to him? Because although I really like Deion, I think he's a really good coach. My curiosity has always been, once the boys are gone, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, I completely respect and think that's a valid question for anybody to ask. On the flip side, though, it's the man is not stranger to adversity, I guess, in my eyes, both professionally and otherwise. And if I had to look holistically at his past life, I wouldn't say that he's very prone to run, just because all the status quo settings are not optimal. But at the same token, I guess to your point, it is a good test to see, okay, where's his dedication lie? If they really struggle this year, for instance, will he still stick it out and continue beyond this season? I think he will. I honestly have to commend him just alone on the fact of keeping this so well concealed. He talked about in the interview how he didn't even share this with his own sons, which I respect, honestly, because his intent was genuine there, I think, to help them stay, pigeonholed and focused in a good way on the game, on the season last year, off-season spring training, what have you. But I mean, for as we all know, as public as a man as he is, and how much of an entourage he has that follows him, it had to be no small task. You have to think about that logistically, going to appointments with the doctors and such, and kept all that under wraps. I mean, we never heard a single leak of this until it was publicly announced through, an organized presser. That's impressive, in my opinion, based on how many leaks you hear about through the college sporting world.
Yeah, and it from the way I understand it, his oldest boy, Deion Jr., who's an intricate part of the organization, he does all the filming and the media.
Yeah.
He does all the posting thing. He knew, so he helped keep it from his brothers, I guess, and helped him with all of it. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting. Did he get into coaching to coach his son?
Right.
Or did he get into coaching because he really wanted to coach? So I think we'll find that out this year. We'll find out. I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention to his recruiting, whether it be freshmen or transfers, but he really needed to improve both sides of the line, offense and defensive line. And I don't know. That was kind of his first year in Colorado. That was the big bugaboo. Was the offensive line was just abysmal.
Was
last year was
running for his life. So
last year was just a little bit better. So I don't know if he went after the big boys, or if he just concentrated on skills, or if he did both. I don't know. Yeah. But I guess we'll see. I'm not sure who they open up with or anything like that. I guess
I know Houston gets them the third week of the season at home in H-Town. I'm not sure who their opening day game is against, but I'll definitely be over these next couple of weeks. I'm fine-tuning the tracker I've got to help kind of come up with a preseason power ranking for the Big 12.
And they open up with Georgia Tech.
So it should be a good game.
Yeah, they open up at home against Georgia Tech. A night game. So that'll be interesting. Ooh, play your Houston Cougars on September 12th. So that'll be fun for you.
Yep.
But so, I mean, I like him. I've always liked him.
Same.
I think he's a good man, flawed like everybody else.
For sure.
But he's very intense. He demands a lot of these young men. And so I'm looking forward to what he does now post his sons and Travis being gone, and how what his passion and how he deals with this.
Something I heard, just to piggyback on this, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard they removed a section of his intestine and repaired the part of the bladder that was cancerous.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I know to your point, Eric, it was predicted because they stated how their biggest concern was it spreading.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they had to take off like an ancillary piece of intestine or something.
That floored me. I'm like who does that for the first time?
I thought I had heard they'd totally remove the bladder, but that could be wrong also.
It's closely related, but I'm no medical expert by any means, but I always thought that testicular cancer or a different one was like the most common one in males, but the doctor, when they were talking in the presser, made it sound like the urinary thing is actually quite common amongst men, at least in terms of like the more prominent cancer versions that most adult males are.
Right.
It's most statistically more likely to get, I guess. So
I understand you're not a doctor, but I also have heard you offer to check a lot of men for testicular cancer. So
I don't know where that was.
Oh, all right. With that, we are moving on. Rumblings out of South Bend have it that Notre Dame is at odds with the Big Ten. And so I did a little looking into this, and the Big Ten proposed, and I want to make sure I get the numbers right here, changing the playoff format, and I know Chad will love this, to 16 teams, 4 guaranteed out of the SEC, 4 out of the Big Ten, 2 out of the ACC, 2 out of the Big 12, 1 out of the Group of 5, and then 3 at large. Can anybody see why Notre Dame may not be real happy with the Big Ten's proposal, Chad? I mean, you can just start. I know how you hate the playoff anyway, but I mean, could you see where maybe Notre Dame's not happy with that proposal?
Well, I can see where they're not happy, but then the other side is join a freaking conference.
Right.
It's 2025.
Yeah.
If you want in this, you better join a conference. I mean, Penn State joined a conference 25 years ago, 26 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Yeah, no, it's 31 years ago now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all those in BYU, they all have joined conferences. Time to give it up, Notre Dame. We appreciate it. For 200 years, you were independent. You blah, 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 blah. Okay.
You got to commend them outside of being independent, like the level of logistical planning that has to go into that to still create, at least not every year, but from the most of the years, still respectively competitive scheduling. They've got some people and some relationships established with other universities clearly to be able to create that from scratch on their own, and not rely, to your point, on a conference to set it up for them. So, I think
they also, I mean, they're mostly in the ACC. What they play 5 or 6 ACC teams a year. Basketball, they're in the ACC for basketball, right? And for everything else but football, they're in the ACC. So being in a conference for everything else
that is
fine, but not for football because we're so special.
Chad, we open with this though, Chad.
Money.
I know. I understand.
The NBC contract.
Fighting when you're up with Bama or whatever, to Eric's point.
When you don't make the playoffs because you won't join the program, then your income will go down.
True.
Well, and again, looking at Notre Dame's point, I get it. They're not in a conference, so they don't. So when you look through here, there's 13 spots that are already taken by some sort of conference team.
Yep.
That leaves 3 at large.
Too many teams.
And as everybody knows, Chad's not a favorite of increasing the playoff teams. So
it's too many teams.
Under the 12 team currently, there are 7 at large spots.
It's too many teams.
Chad would be happy with the old 2, maybe 4.
4 is good.
We were talking about it offline before the show started, Eric. I was saying out, most schools like in my program, whether it be Big 12, ACC, whatever, honestly might be elated that Notre Dame's unsuspectingly or unknowingly, in a sense, indirectly fighting for the cause of our programs, our conferences as well, to stay in the mix. But now I think about it and looking back, I was looking back at this last year's playoff. Obviously, we don't know the fine tunings of how they're going to settle this year. That's not even been concrete.
I think they're going to reseed them. I think they're going to reseed them.
Right, reseed. But I'm saying, the which I think that would be good, honestly. But
I do too.
Last year, all we had was Arizona State from the Big 12. I mean, from what you're proposing in that option that the Big 10 and Notre Dame are considering to play devil's advocate, maybe that is the better route for programs like us to at least guarantee the 2 spots because.
Well, Iowa State, if they do this, Iowa State's in last year. Yeah. But here's the deal, and I agree and I disagree with Chad to an extent. I think there comes a point where there's too many teams, but I absolutely do love the theatrics of it.
For sure.
You just like the drama.
The drama. Listen, Arizona State was that close.
Yep.
Okay. And they weren't even supposed to be there. All right. So I do like that aspect of it. But I think it can, 16 may water it down. May. They may
I can't believe you said that and tried to keep a straight face when you did it. There's no point to the regular season with 16 teams or 12 teams. It's insane.
Here's the argument that I made.
This isn't the basketball tournament.
Right, but what I'm saying is
why not?
Yeah, but here's the argument that I make for that. Is who won the national championship this year?
Buckeyes,
right? Okay. Under the old system, there's a better than outside chance the Buckeyes don't get that opportunity.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that early second season or second week loss to Oregon should not hurt them as much as it used to.
Right.
That's my whole point is like you would get teams that, man, they lose week 3 and you're like, well, they're going to need 4 teams to lose to have a shot at getting into the national title talk again. And we're talking about week 3. Does it lessen the regular season a little bit where you can have that slip up and still make a run? I'm not going to argue with you that it could. But what I'm saying is it also creates a little more drama, a little more,
right.
It gives the Arizona States, the Iowa States or whatever, a seat at the table, something to play for. If it's going to be all about the huge national teams, it's going to be every year, it's going to be Ohio State, Alabama, but we got to have names in there. So whether LSU is good or not, we're going to put LSU in there. And, well, Auburn's a good rival to Alabama, so we're going to throw Auburn in there too. Like, if that's all it's going to be, then give me 4 teams and I don't care. But if you're actually going to have the ability for an Iowa State to, let's say, lose in week 3, whatever it is, but have something to play for conference-wise, potentially to get into the national championship mix, that keeps you there. It keeps the interest, at least as far as that goes.
I agree.
Because
I think we all know the unspoken rule within the committee was probably already in play these past several years with respect to like teams like Bama and such that would always get the kind of one-off loss, forgivable game. And it wasn't on the paper or on the books, but we know they were doing it. Like it's
absolutely
it's a given. So to make that mandated kind of thing.
There was only a few teams in the nation that had that one gift loss, and Bama was one of them.
Right.
And as long as it wasn't egregious, for a while anyway, Ohio State's been the other. Unless they lose to Tulane or Kent State or something, you know what I mean? And so, I understand Chad's argument, but there's also a lot of voices on this side of the argument that kind of, does 16 teams create a more of an opportunity for the ACC Big 12? But look at it this way. I think you'll find at least 2-3 quality teams in the Big 12. Who are the quality teams in the ACC this year? Clemson and maybe UNC.
Right.
Maybe UNC. And maybe somebody surprises us. But right now you're looking at like.
So from your argument stance, essentially not going with the best of 4 of the top 2 or 3 conferences allows for that organic fluidity from, 2 to 3 year span to 3 year span where one conference may just holistically get weaker in the lull and ebb and flow of changing things. I think I see the logic. That makes sense.
Well, but think about this. Think about in the Big 12 itself.
Yeah. We're honestly more, we have the greatest amount of parity, and it was even shown last season than any other conference in the nation.
But what I'll say is this. Think about the Big 12. Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, Houston. Am I missing one? Baylor, Texas Tech. What if oil money starts to pour into those schools? And all of a sudden, they create this 16-team playoff thing where the SEC and the Big Ten are guaranteed 4. But what happens if oil money starts pouring into all the Texas schools? Chad, go ahead.
Oklahoma State has had Texas money flown into it for 25 years. That guy started that shit 25 years ago and has done them.
That's why I say I think Texas Tech is overrated because it's the same thing. They haven't even been Big 12 champs in over a decade. I feel like.
But look at what, in combination with the nil money, look at what it's done to Alabama. I get why Nick Saban. Well, I get
left. That's what did it to Alabama.
Well, what I'm saying is the reason Saban left was he understood that no longer was he 3 deep at every position.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, 3 deep is like, well, I'm not playing at Alabama, but you know what? I can go start at wherever.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, 2 deep is like, man, do I really want to wait it out here?
That's the
same. That's the same as going from 108 or 109 scholarships down to 88 or whatever that big cutoff was.
Right.
I mean, that did the same thing. That's what brought Boise State and all of those kinds of teams to make them available and make them relevant is because all the big schools had to lose 20 scholarship players, and all those guys had to go play someplace else.
Right.
So I mean, I think the beast will adjust to that. What it's never going to adjust to is players 4 weeks into the season going, "You ain't paying me enough. I'm out," and leaving.
Right. That foundation is still there to prevent that, I think.
So we had a question from John David.
It happened last year.
Why would Notre Dame play in the Big Ten when they play an ACC schedule?
I think Eric just highlighted it, John.
I can tell you, John, because it's freaking weak. I wouldn't want to play the Big Ten as opposed to the ACC either. I mean, we just talked about it. It's Clemson and maybe UNC. Maybe. I mean, like, that's exactly why I get it. If I was Notre Dame, I wouldn't want to go to the Big Ten and have potentially Ohio State and Oregon on my schedule, or have Penn State and, an upstart Indiana or whoever we're talking about that year in the Big Ten. I wouldn't want to have that either.
Yep.
That's the point. I mean, Notre Dame has hit a great patch here. I think we would all agree that 15 years ago, maybe not even that far back, you looked at Notre Dame's schedule, and other than Army and Navy or whatever, it was a schedule. Yeah. USC. I mean, they had really good teams on that schedule.
And the pick of the litter.
Yeah, but a lot of those teams have kind of fallen on hard times over the years and whatever. Now, when you look at Notre Dame's schedule compared to, and it's virtually the same almost, you look at it to what it was 15 years ago, you're kind of like, well, Notre Dame, as long as they don't step on their tongue, they've got this in the bag. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's not a lot of teams out there. I mean, even now, Alabama cannot walk out on the football field and go, listen, guys, as long as we don't step on our tongues, we got this in the bag. Right. Those days are over.
Yeah.
And even Ohio State, even though I would consider them the class of the Big Ten, you can't just show up and play Penn State now. And now you've got the mix of Oregon in there. And USC is getting better. It might take them a little bit, but they're going to get better. I mean, but Notre Dame, they don't have that. They don't have that push. They don't have that. Nobody else can have the mentality that Notre Dame has. It's just, hey, dudes, just don't make a huge mistake here and we're in the playoff. 1, maybe 2 losses. Let's just not, no other team can do that. Because the conferences, as you mentioned, KJ, they have the Alabamas of the world. They have come back a little bit.
Right.
And while I see more parity in the SEC than I do in the Big Ten. I think there's 3 or 4 teams in the Big Ten that have taken themselves here and kind of created a gap even further between the bottom part.
Yeah. Not to hate on it by any means, but I guess that's where holistically, historically, I've always been more of the camp of I respected the SEC, can notate the difference in play as a conference over every other Power 5 school, but I was never a Power 5 homer, especially obviously being biased as I am coming from a smaller tier school. And I think it's, I would say, I think personally the parity bolsters your conference more, but unfortunately in the committee and the playoffs, that's never really been reciprocated or reflected in how they select their teams, which is unfortunate because it shows you can have a 1 to 2 team dominant conference for half a decade or more. And it essentially sets the standard for that program to seal the deal on a spot as long as they go nearly perfect every season. It's extremely frustrating for the rest of the college football landscape.
Right. So putting everybody on the spot, Chad, what's your ideal playoff number? What are you comfortable with? I'm not saying I'm saying comfortable with.
I'm comfortable with I would not be as upset with 8.
Okay.
I would prefer 6.
Okay. With the top 2 getting buys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. KJ, what would you be comfortable with? What's your favorite scenario?
I have been advocating for what we have now for the longest time. I feel like I wouldn't be opposed to going back to 8, to Chase's point, only with the caveat that in that setting, I would demand essentially the automatic seeding for conference champions. Because, like I said, and we even acknowledged this, and going to potential 16 build out, that at-large team for the non-Power 5, Power 4, whatever stupid schematic stereotypical label you want to use, that team's only ever going to get one slot, even if you go to 20 fucking teams, excuse my French, in the playoffs. Like, it's going to be one-off school that gets their shot. In an 8-team setting, we could essentially lose that even for some of the power conferences. And I would just, especially to your point, as we talked about with the parity in the SEC and the Big 12, that small of a number, I think it's automatic. You have to require every conference championship to get their due. In a 12-team seeding, I see, there's enough room for those guys to be in no matter what, just from a seeding standpoint and strength of schedule, and still allow your second tier, third tier guys to sneak in and have a chance at redemption. So
John chimes in here. He would be comfortable with 32. That would all but assure.
Let's go. I love it.
That would all but assure Notre Dame to be in the mix every single year. Okay, moving on to Oklahoma. So Chad mentioned the Oklahoma State, and there's obviously oil money in Oklahoma as well. And Oklahoma has seen greater success than obviously Oklahoma State. And I think that's part and parcel to, because Oklahoma isn't the same, state, they're dealing with it. But is Venables, does he have the hottest seat in college football this year, Chad?
It's hot. I wouldn't want to sit on it. I mean, personally, because, I don't know what that does to hemorrhoids or anything, but that's hot. A lot of these coaches at these traditional big powerhouse schools, there's not a whole lot of patience anymore. And there's always some young, flashy guy coming up.
From Toledo or Kent State or somebody like that.
Yep. Or South Dakota State or, something like that. So he's got to win. I think what's his face out at USC? He's got to get going, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time to reload this. He's got to go. I mean,
he brought in Rob Ryan. That'll help, I think.
We'll see how long Matt Rule can last at my school, Nebraska, with the one mediocre season after another. I'm not calling for him to be fired. That's ridiculous at this point. But I mean, you've got to win, and not everybody's going to win. So not everybody's as patient as Iowa State. When Campbell has a down year, they're like, okay. He has a mediocre year. They're like, okay. And then he comes back and has a good year. Look at Kurt Ferentz in the bucket of mediocrity he brings a year in and year out to that program. And he stayed.
Chad, they win 8, 9, 10 games a year. How can you say mediocrity?
I know the greatest teams in Iowa history have barely beat the worst teams in Nebraska history by like 3 points, 6 points. The greatest teams in Iowa, Hawkeye, black and coward yellow history barely beat the worst teams in Nebraska history. So I have to deal with this every year.
You actually do. And I'm sure
KJ, you live in Texas, right?
No, I live in Tennessee.
You live in Tennessee. So you do not have to deal with the most obnoxious fan base in the entire NCAA world.
Hold on.
The Iowa Hawkeye fans.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize to the Hawkeye fans.
I don't apologize at all. I don't apologize at all.
I feel like this is the part where Chad is almost 2. Hold on 1 second.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
They are so obnoxious. Every year they come in with their black and coward yellow clothes on, their shirts and hats, and they come walking into work.
Think a color that screams "Look at me" enunciates coward very loudly, but maybe I'm misreading that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so obnoxious, dude.
I have a question as an outsider to both the SEC and Big Ten worlds, I guess. And this is only once again coming from my origination bias viewpoint, but what's the deal with Luke Fickell in Wisconsin? He's been there a while. He left Cincinnati when he brought them to glory. Like, are they one of those teams that's satisfied, to your point, with kind of like the average flow? Because he's been there, how many years now since?
Normally Wisconsin is not. I mean, I'm going to defer this to Chad. Because Wisconsin,
even the BCS era and stuff, they were in the top contention.
When the Big Ten split into the heroes and trophy side or legend side, whatever it was, when Wisconsin and Iowa, that was when Nebraska was coming into the Big Ten, and Nebraska was down, so we didn't really. I think it was the legend side. I don't know which one it was. I honestly thought it was going to be Wisconsin, Iowa, because it had Minnesota, Purdue, whatever.
They were terrible.
Right. But Wisconsin has completely fallen off the map. And Chad would probably know better than me why that is, but they have just disappeared.
Is this when JJ got drafted by the Texans?
well, I'm telling you, it's not a bad thing. So a little something about Wisconsin fans for you.
Wait.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
I'm just doing a preemptive because he's Wisconsin fan.
That's the name of the session. Roast the fan base.
They're two fan bases. I don't care if I upset them. So because of this, the Nebraska's first road game in the Big Ten is they went to Camp Randall in Madison to play Wisconsin.
Ed's watching.
And, I know. I don't care. And the Monday after the game, I'm listening to ESPN down in Omaha, and one caller after another, like 10 people called in to say that was the worst place they'd ever been. They all had cups of urine thrown on them from Wisconsin fans.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Thank you.
That's true.
Ed's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
I would take 10 lemons right. Defenders over a cup of urine. That's like a whole different world of bad juju right there.
Yeah. So I don't want to hear this stuff, because these are the same people who are Packer fans. So I don't want to hear anything. They're a great fan base. They're really encouraging. Oh my God, give me a break.
I will say,
I'll give you.
I'm good.
I'll give you, Chase. I think Wisconsin is the Green Bay, especially, probably is like the Boston of the central northern United States. If you want to get technical.
Well, in case you're not aware, KJ, Wisconsin per capita outpaces every other state in the consumption of alcohol. And it's not even close.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Dude. It's not even close.
Anyway, I have no idea, KJ. I'm supposed to be hosting the show, and I have no idea how we've gotten here. None. But we were talking about Venables. 2 out of 3 seasons, 6 and 7. Okay. He was 13th in the SEC last year. I think he was 2 and 6 or whatever it was in the SEC last year. Now, I give him a pass last year because they had a lot of injuries. Wide receiving core, offensive linemen, those types of things. Mm-hmm. They brought in Ben Arbuckle, and they've got the transfer quarterback, Mateer, I think I'm pronouncing it right, from Washington State. Had some good numbers, almost 65% completion, 3,139 yards, 29 TDs, 7 interceptions. But is that going to my problem with Oklahoma, and I have a real good friend of mine who is from Nebraska, but he has been a diehard Sooner fan his whole life. Whole life. He was really high when Venables got hired.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, and I'll ask you first, KJ, do you think Oklahoma was too much of a prisoner to Texas and because of the situation presented itself or whatever, took that leap in the SEC when they weren't really ready? Texas is obviously, they're ready. They were ready.
We didn't think they were.
We didn't think they were, but they've showed they are.
We didn't think they were.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't even claim that just based on the historic performance of how they did in the Big 12 prior to their departure.
Yeah.
I mean, that it logically just doesn't track to say that they were handcuffed when they dominated the crap out of the Shorthorns for so long. So, I mean.
Right. But what I'm saying is it hasn't been a great move. Did Oklahoma
Well, I mean, it wasn't
a mistake?
Oh. Yeah. I'm sorry. You're up, KJ.
I think it's too early to say right now. One season in? Like that's A&M did great their first year and have tapered off to, the what do they call it?
Look at A&M. Look at Missouri. Now Missouri has kind of come back a little.
They've dismally disappeared into the abyss of mediocrity, essentially.
But where would A&M and Missouri be if they were still in the Big 12? I don't know. I can't answer that either. What I'm saying is I get what the allure, and maybe that's what really hurt Venables. I get the allure of moving, but was it? I think it was the right move for Texas. I hate Texas.
Right.
Okay. Because they hamstrung the Big 12 with the Longhorn Network and all those types of things.
They're the reason the Big 12 died.
They're the reason the Big 12 died, and then they jumped ship. The Big 12 gave them everything, and then they jumped ship. So great, grand, groovy, leave. But Oklahoma could have been that team then, maybe. Like I said, they were struggling. I mean, Iowa State was, whatever.
Right.
But is it a bad move?
Oklahoma
I would argue
the Big
no
12
from the
last year.
standpoint
They're
of
in the Big 12.
Yeah, I would argue no from the standpoint of if the Big 12 had still if the Big 12 had still done their expansion as they did with Texas leaving, give or take one team, you would still have a heightened level of parity and competition. Even if Oklahoma had, on the front end maintained their dominance, I think it would still get eroded over the long run. And you wouldn't have, to your point, like the Ohio State dominance of the Big 10 that you see in that conference. I just don't see it being replicated in the Big 12, even if they had stayed behind.
Oh, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is they finished 13th in the SEC. 13th. Like,
right.
When is Oklahoma anywhere in their history been so irrelevant?
Yeah.
All
I'll say is this, and I doubt he's watching.
I mean, in my lifetime, but I mean, in
the late 90s, they were totally irrelevant. They were terrible. Switzer left.
Say 20 years ago. Say 20 years. They haven't been irrelevant for 20 years. They were absolutely irrelevant last year.
That's so you're saying just staying in the mix of the conversation, then I could see the Big 12. That makes sense.
And I'm not saying they win the Big 12. But I'm saying they're in the mix. In the SEC, they got buried.
Right.
And honest to God, I think in the Big 12, with the injuries and things I talked about before they might have gotten buried, not 13th, but they might have gotten buried in the Big 12.
I could argue their fan base boosted their confidence overtly beyond what was realistically reasonable going into the SEC. I have a close friend that still owes me $100, and he was rooting over a year in advance of their first year in that they were going to be in the top 3 in the conference. And I took that bet the minute he decided to put his foot in.
Yeah. Just give me your money.
Yeah, I was like, top 3, I'll take that bet. You don't know what you're smoking with the SEC, my man. And I don't even like the Power 5 nomenclature. I know what the SEC is. So
Venables, as Chad said, the seat is hot. He would not want to be in it. Okay. I think Vegas has them at 6.5 over under. So I'm going to read the schedule off, and I'm going to get how you guys are betting over under on Oklahoma. I already have mine checked. So I'm going to read these off, and you guys just put checks as you think they're going to win or lose, and then tell me what you came up with. They open at home against Illinois State. Then they are at home against Michigan. Then they are at Temple. Then at home against Auburn. Then at home against the power Kent State. Then the Red River rivalry with Texas. Then at South Carolina. At home against Ole Miss. At Tennessee. At Alabama. At home against Missouri. And they close off the season at home against LSU. So, Chad, what say you on 6.5 over under?
I got them at 5 and 7.
5 and 7. KJ, so you're the under.
I would say, I guess if losses give more to the under, then based on Chase's rating, I'd go under because I think they'll probably lose more than that.
So you're thinking 5 and 7? 6 and 7?
At least, heck, the end of the season's a gauntlet nearly for them. I mean, yeah,
that's what giving them. That's what giving them
5, if not more,
South Carolina
in terms of loss count.
Yeah, I gave them, and this is again. This is giving them, Venables believes this is giving Mateer or whatever his name is, fitting in at quarterback and filling that position, the offensive line being healthy, Ben Arbuckle coming in and doing some changes and creating some things. I gave them Illinois State. I think that's not going to shock anybody.
Sure.
Loss against Michigan.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them Temple.
Yep.
I gave them Auburn.
Ooh, I didn't.
Well, I gave them Auburn.
That one could go either way.
Yes, that one could go either way, but I'm going to give it to them.
Yeah.
I gave them Kent State.
Yep.
They're going to get dog stomped by Texas.
Dallas, yeah.
I gave them South Carolina.
Yeah, so did I.
And I have them going 2-3 their last 5 games. Now
I gave them Missouri, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's a fair argument.
Yeah, I have them 1-4, honestly. Yeah,
I have them at 7 wins, but they could easily be 6. To me, this is no more than a 7-win team. Very easily a 5-win team.
Now Ed would be very upset with that because Missouri's his team.
Right. Yes, he's totally
Missouri
jumped off
Tiger
the Hawkeye
fan.
bandwagon, and he's on.
Well, he loves that
Mizzou.
coward yellow. He loves that coward yellow.
So it was a natural transition.
It was. He's always talking about Mizzou. Mizzou this, Mizzou that.
Missouri. Missouri plays. Oh, who cares?
Missouri's the best.
We kid Missouri Tiger fans. We kid just because we're digging it Ed right now.
Yeah, we're just getting it, Ed.
As the resident newcomer, I have to say I'm learning a valuable lesson here, folks. It's don't ever get sick with this crew. They just dog walking, not here. I'm so sorry, Ed. I feel for you.
The dog over you for dang sure.
That's basically what it is.
Okay, as the host, I have freedom, so we're moving on from the Oklahoma. Venables is clearly on the hot seat. Probably the last topic we'll get to in our college half because we have a lot of NFL stuff to get to. I'm going to give you a choice, KJ, since you are the new guy. This is your first NCAA NFL season with the bottom line. I'm going to give you your choice. Belichick in UNC or Retzlaff in Tulane.
I mean, you know me. I'm going to go Retzlaff. I don't give a hoot about Belichick. So.
I will touch on Belichick just a little bit. Chad, I have one question for you. Over under. His girlfriend is on the sidelines during the games.
Oh, she's on the sideline.
Okay.
At least one appearance, if not
more. At least at home games, she's on the sideline.
Will she be calling plays?
She may.
She may be calling plays.
She might get
may call a trick play.
Game.
Remember that interview, the TV interview that Belichick did?
Uh-huh.
I have never seen him cower like that when she's like, we're not talking about that. He's just like,
he went straight beta male mode.
Yes, man. Yes. He turned into a like that.
Mama, yeah.
And I'm like, holy buckets. I have never seen Belichick ever present himself in that fashion. Anyway, all right, KJ, take it away.
So it was announced earlier. I think it was this month that occurred. It may have been June. I can't recall how long it's been in the media now. I think it was fairly recently, though. They announced due to code of conduct, I guess, violations. I forget what the BYU's policy is, but Retzlaff had some extracurriculars. A little fun outside the lines during the off season, I guess, or maybe even during the regular season. I don't know how long postpartum this has been a punishment implemented. But due to the looming game suspension that he'd be facing this fall, he chose to leave BYU and had an opportunity to go to Tulane and took it, I guess. Makes sense, rightfully so, as the American Athletic is probably the premier group of 4 or 5, whatever, outside of the Power 4 or 5 bubble. And Tulane has had a pretty storied program ever since Willie Fritz departed for us here in Houston. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know the definitive, I guess, details around Tulane's roster in terms of who they've lost with their previous quarterback. But I mean, respective to what Retzlaff's stats was, I was looking at in the Big 12, he was like in the top, I think, 5 QBs out of the conference last season in terms of percentage completion rating, what have you. And looking at what the kind of QBR was for the guys in the AAC, I think he has stand to reason he'd have an opportunity to make it top 3 in that conference by the end of this fall. So I think it's a smart move on his part. I mean, obviously it's unfortunate that he did what he did and can't stay with a more storied program that might have a better odd at getting into the CFP. I'm not saying the BYU would be there, but it'll be interesting to see how much this increases the competition within BYU's QB room. I think that's the bigger question outside of how well will he do at Tulane.
Well, and let's face it, with the way the transfer portal is he going to remain at Tulane? He tears it up there.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's going to come calling.
If we think of the most premier player, I know there's a lot out there who've started doing it, and NIL is still fairly new. But to your point, Eric, you're going to see guys now, they do good enough at one school and increase their own brand demand. They'll be hopscotching year to year to different programs, just to pad their own stat book to an extent.
Yeah, because there's no, and I hate to keep referring to this, but, since I am the resident SEC guru on the show now, Nick Saban said it perfectly. There's no loyalty in programs anymore.
No.
A kid does not come in and have loyalty to me. He doesn't have loyalty to what he's wearing. He has loyalty only to himself.
I think we'll stay there, but yeah, the culture overall.
And I'm not blanketing every NCAA player like they think that way, but a lot of them now do. And a lot of them that, they don't care that they're wearing, black and coward yellow. It's football. It's football.
Yep.
And if they're not going to expose me for the great player that I am, I'm going here.
Right.
And then if it's with the Green Waves, if they're not going to expose me for the type of great player I am, I'm going to go to Ed's favorite team, the Missouri Tigers. And it's created a culture of, it's not about team anymore. It's kind of about me. I mean, I'm going to tell you in press conferences, it's all about the team. And we're working really hard and we're doing this. They're going to say all the right things. But up here, it's about me, baby. Recognize me for who I am. And if you don't, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So that's made it difficult for some of your, the Nick Saban type coaches that were career coaches, whatever. That just doesn't work with them.
Yeah.
It does not work with them.
This one specifically case, I guess, falls kind of outside that purview just because it's more conduct related.
Yes. And I'm not saying that's where he's at.
Yeah. I see your point for sure.
Just in general, when you talk about guys jumping teams, it can be for anything.
My question, I guess, would be theoretically outside of this situation specifically, but you mentioned that, and this, I don't know if really the cap is what forces this in the NFL, but I've seen plenty of notable guys on the pro side, if they've established themselves in a team and they are good and do at least have that demand across the broader NFL market, they still choose to stay, take a pay deduct because they know they got a squad getting built around them.
Right.
You think it will take some form of a cap having to be implemented in the NCAA to cause that, or just the natural time flow of players seeing guys like Amalave or whatever his name is from Tennessee go to a school, and then he's most likely potentially going to be a dud where he went, and the guys are going to think twice and go, maybe it might need to eat a little humble pie. Like, is a cap going to be what has to force that, or just the natural flow of guys getting so big?
He's also going to make half of what he was going to make at Tennessee at UCLA. So he really shot himself in the foot.
Right. Well, that's what I guess that whether it's the income change because you get so competitive, you actually hurt your income, or you just get a good payday, but then you go to the school and you completely crap a brick because you're under bad leadership or whatever.
Well, what I think it's going to have, what's going to have to happen. So is something like what happened in NFL. So when Pete Rozelle took over as commissioner of the NFL in the early 60s, he went to George Halas, the founder of the NFL, owner of the Bears, the second largest market at the time. And he went to Mara, the owner of the Giants, in the number one market. And he said, listen, we're going to put together these national TV deals, but we're going to spread the money out equally so that every team has the same income and has the same chance to get players and to win. And that is what set the NFL up to become what it has become. So until the big schools, until Ohio State, Texas, yada, 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 till they all come together and realize, listen, we have to set up a cap, a hard cap, so that we do not outbuy all these other teams, because all this is going to do is ruin the sport.
Right.
And until they come to that realization, and you have to have special people who, like Mr. Halas and Mr. Mara, to realize that that's what it's not the best for me, but it's the best for the league, and it will be the best for me down the line.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, can you get those schools to buy into that? I don't think so. Look at
Texas
the NBA. Look at Major League Baseball. They just, I don't feel bad for those owners spending all that money and people having to pay $25 for a hot dog at a baseball game. Go ahead, do it. That's what you're going to support. You go right ahead, and you got the same three teams vying for it every single year.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah, no,
That's
you're
it.
right. You're right. All right, that is going to, because I am the host, and I do have to put this up here.
Yeah, I
Ed
saw
said,
that.
"Just wait until I'm back, boys. Yuck it up." You're right, Ed. We're gonna yuck
We
it
will.
up.
I am
we will.
a defenseman, Ed. I stand in solidarity with you.
Listen,
Be a man, Ed. Sack up. Let's go.
Ed cannot have an ally here. We cannot be having that,
Yeah,
KJ. Listen,
no.
Chad, I don't know how many shows we have to get him turned to the dark side, but we've got to make sure that happens, because when Ed comes back, I don't want KJ going, "Oh, well, Ed, you're right. Oh,
Yeah.
well, Ed, that's a great point." Oh, we can't have that, KJ. We can't have that.
You can't.
Just cannot have it.
You don't want to kiss that ass. I've heard so many bad things coming out of there. You don't want anything to do with it.
Okay, when we come back from a word from our sponsor, we are moving on to the NFL, and we got plenty of topics for that. right. Hour 2 is always the NFL. And I do love the NFL. So I will leave it to you guys. I gave you the hot topics before the show. Is there any particular hot topic that you would like to start with? Okay, silence means that I am going to start.
You can pick it.
I will pick it, and we are going to start with this. Cleveland's QB carousel. 4 quarterbacks in camp. Flacco, well, on the depth chart anyway. Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and Sanders. I am just going to turn this over to you, but I'm going to say, what the hell were they thinking, Chad?
I think this whole Shedeur Sanders thing is such a horrible look for the NFL. Do I believe it was a conspiracy not to draft the kid? 1,015%. They had an axe to grind with him and his dad and the way they handled things in college and the way he talked, and he wasn't going to work out for anybody and yada, yada, yada. Even though lots of players have done that and said, I'm not working out, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Suddenly, when he wasn't going to do it, they didn't like it. Now, who's the most talented quarterback on that roster? Shedeur Sanders. Is he going to get a shot? I don't know. I don't think so. Evidently, he's only getting like 2 or 3 reps per practice. And at the beginning of camp, that's when those young guys get the most reps. And their reps slow down as the training camp goes along and you get closer to games. And if he's not getting any reps at the beginning of training camp, he sure as heck isn't going to get any at the end of training camp. So they're going to be horrible this year. Joe Flacco is going to be mediocre old man.
He's like my age.
Yeah, exactly.
See this? He's my age.
Yeah, I know. Dylan Gabriel is a Smurf, so he's not going to do it. And we all know what Kenny Pickett can do. So they're going to draft a quarterback again next year because they're not going to give this kid a chance. He's the most talented quarterback on the roster. He's the best one they have. I don't know how many different ways to say it. And they are going to screw themselves into the ground. They're going to be terrible. They're finally going to get rid of this coach. They're going to get rid of this GM. And I don't care. From what I understand, and the owner's denying it, is the owner called up the GM and said on draft day or reached over and grabbed him and said, listen, Shedeur's still there. Take him. And the coach was like, because we all saw the coaching staff when they picked him. So after every pick, they showed the war room and everybody's slapping each other on the back and high fives. And, yeah, we got the guy we wanted. And when they put the camera on those guys, they were all like,
Now,
did they teach him a lesson? They very well might have taught him a lesson to humble him a little bit, and that can be good. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But it's the old expression, cut off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah. And
that's what they are doing. And I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel bad. You've created this mess. You now get to deal with it. Cleveland Browns fans, don't cry. Your team did this to themselves.
The thing that irritates me, KJ, is this. And I can't verify the reports, but I think this happened with the New York Giants. They gave him some plays and everything, and when he showed up to the meeting, head coach and some other guys there, he went like this. I got this game I want to play. And this game is going to tell me a lot about you and how, if this is where I want to be and everything like that. Could that be the difference between what Chad is talking about? There's a lot of people that haven't worked out for teams, and he's correct on that. But could that mentality and that attitude, like, you know who you're talking to, right? That type of dictation, could that have been what hurt him?
I mean, if that's what happened, then most certainly, yeah. I mean, he's not the first person to need to be humbled if that was what occurred. I don't know if it is. I heard the same rumor once. I mean, I'll concede, I would say, out of all of Deion's children or sons that played on the team, he is the one that I would most be willing to concede seems to have the biggest ego of the bunch. Travis, nobody's going to ever convince me that kid is egotistical or big-headed in the slightest. Dude, super humble, was very studious when he was a student at Colorado. But
doesn't make good female choices.
No.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's just good guys getting preyed upon. I mean,
as most of us when we were that age probably didn't make it.
I was in some social media boards on that topic.
Didn't marry him,
that lady, but
right.
That's a separate conversation topic.
Well, okay,
so if I could touch on that scenario,
yep,
that scenario is bad, and you know what he got? That's the advice he got from his dad, because he didn't hire a manager, he didn't hire somebody to represent him. His dad was representing him, and his dad was advising him, and his dad wasn't a quarterback, and his dad didn't get any choice in where he was drafted either. But for some reason,
relationship angles, I guess.
Yeah, but when he was a free agent, he could go to San Francisco and say, "What are you going to do? You make me come here." He could go to Dallas and say, "What are you going to do? Convince me to come here."
He'd already established his presence in the league as a player.
Yeah, he was already going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
His son had none of that, and his son had no business doing that, and that really hurt him. I totally agree. But he since has dropped his dad. Both the boys did. He does not represent them anymore. They have representations that are professionals. And from everything I've heard, he's a good teammate in Cleveland. And he's the first one there and the last one gone. And I think Cleveland needs to get over it. I'm sorry, KJ, I interrupted. But
well, I agree. I agree with you, Chad, that he is, whether you use the term raw or whatever, inexperienced, whatever you throw to it, he is, as I look at these names, and I don't even think it's close. Talent-wise, you are correct. I think he's the most talented guy of those four quarterbacks. But when I see a guy who hasn't even been drafted saying, "I'm not playing for them," and only right prior to the draft did he come out and say, "Oh, wherever I'm drafted, that's cool." And then you hear the other reports of wanting these coaches to sit down and play this juvenile game with you and those types of things. Do you think that throw talent aside, because I'm conceding that he is by far the most talented quarterback on this roster. But do you think that some of those things have just killed him?
Yeah, for sure. 1,000%.
It's hampered his start, you could say, for sure. I think I might be using a bad polar opposite example in a sense to compare him to, but like as a team, if I had to pick between that, and obviously they didn't necessarily know this going into it or they didn't acknowledge it going into it, but if I had to pick between a guy like Sanders and Manziel, I'm taking Sanders every time, because the probability of me being able to mentally remold that kid to go, okay, here's some humble pie, you should eat it, versus the dude that's going to go party and skip half his practices, let alone think he's just the cat's meow and doesn't need to do it.
Right.
He's doing other stuff that's completely detracting from his athletic ability. That's a whole different animal. It's like, it's one thing to have a big head and still focus on the game, but it's another to be living two lives simultaneously and think you can manage the two.
How long and how far are you going to punish a young man for making a young man mistake?
Right.
Looking at this list, Chad, not very long, but they clearly are still doing that. But my response to you, KJ, is this. I agree with you. Johnny Manziel was, it's well documented. He was smoked out of his mind the night before the Alabama game and things like that.
I learned a lot from watching the Shannon Sharp podcast episode.
But you know what? Do you know what Johnny Manziel didn't do? At least from what all the reports are hearing anything. Johnny Manziel said, "I'm not playing for you. I'm not." He never said that. You know.
Okay, you know who did? Eli Manning. You know who did? John Elway.
Yeah,
John Elway
right.
says, if I don't go where I want to go, I'm going to go play for the New York Yankees.
Yeah. And I'm not saying there's not examples out there.
Okay.
But, Chad, this is a different world we live in.
Really?
It is.
Is this Earth 75? Because I thought it was still on Earth Prime.
I like
I didn't realize it.
Model. That's hilarious.
Where's the interdimensional portal to where we travel to another universe? Because that's kind of badass. Maybe I can go visit some places.
I'm telling you.
Maybe there's some place with dragons still, and I can go see it.
If you believe that the world is the same today as it was when John Elway, or even when Eli Manning did that,
no, the landscape's
it's not even close.
For sure.
Now, I'll concede that he's being unfairly punished. I concede that he is the most talented, especially athlete on this list.
Right.
I mean, I haven't been watching clips of practice or anything like that to know if his throws are off or whatever. But athletically, he is the best on this list. So I think you would have to concede that the reason that this has happened to him or is happening to him is probably because of that. And his father is probably big time to blame for it.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and I think that's probably, it'll be interesting to see where Cleveland ends up. Are they going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster?
That's what they're saying. 5.
Yeah. That's what I say. We all know who's still there, who's not there, but
right,
the biggest payday of them all.
Right. But are they going to keep 4 quarterbacks? And if they don't, are they going to seriously cut him?
No, I don't think they will. I think if anybody gets cut, I think it'll be Kenny Pickett or traded. What they're crossing their fingers for is a quarterback injury someplace, and somebody wants Kenny Pickett. Because they want to start the season with Flacco, which is understandable. Let these kids see the speed of the game and all that stuff, and then satisfy the veterans. They're gonna play the guy who gives them the best chance to win. And then once they lose a bunch of games and they're dog shit, then they'll let Gabriel play. And then he'll throw it into the asses and shoulder blades of his offensive linemen. And then they'll go, okay, well, Sanders, get in there.
I guess.
That's why I hope they aren't reluctant to do that. That was going to be my next comment.
Yeah.
If they do start to blow games or they get blowed out, they're getting blown out a certain game, like you would hope the coaching staff's wise enough to go, okay, this is our chance to give the young kid reps.
Yes.
Don't miss out on that opportunity.
Okay, as the hostess with the mostest, we are moving on. Here's the next topic. Since the last time I asked you guys, what do you want to move to? It was like this. So, buy or sell the 49ers this year. Now, quickly, before we talk about this, we're going to put up Ed's power rankings, way too early power rankings. And we'll see just exactly where he has the 49ers. 8 spots behind the Minnesota Vikings in number 16 spot. Okay. So you have a healthy San Francisco, at least at this point. Can they stay healthy? Your guess is as good as mine. But if they do, I believe that this 16 ranking is way too low. All right. So, with that being said, and I'll let you digest this a little bit because we will break this down right at the end, but Are we buying or selling, Chad? Are you buying or selling the San Francisco 49ers as being playoff and potentially Super Bowl contenders?
I'm buying that they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Whether or not they're Super Bowl contenders or not, I don't know.
Okay. If McCaffrey stays healthy,
you got to beat the Eagles, and that's no simple task.
Let me throw this scenario out there to you. McCaffrey stays healthy. Ayuk comes back and he's fine. Kittle stays healthy, and Purdy stays upright. Now are they Super Bowl contenders?
My issues there are, one, Ayuk is healthy. If he's healthy, he's mid. He's not. I mean, he's just a mediocre, pretty good wide receiver. He is not fantastic, and he's certainly not great. Now, your Iowa Hawkeye, Mr. George Kittle with his hair, now he's great, but he's old as a pair of underwear I have in my drawer, and that is old. He is old. So I don't know how relevant he is going to be, because he always misses 2 or 3 games a season. The positive for them is they have a couple of young receivers that might be pretty good.
Correct.
And they have the most seemingly hated, seemingly most undervalued, seemingly the most overlooked, fantastic young quarterback in the league. Brock Purdy is fantastic. And the hate that guy gets is staggering.
And I don't know how. I don't know how.
I don't know why.
America loves an underdog, but they don't love him.
I've never disliked the guy, honestly. I celebrated the minute he got his opportunity and excelled and took advantage, man. It's been awesome.
He is one of the best anticipatory throwers of the football in the league. He trusts the wide receivers. He's throwing that ball before they even come close to being out of the break. They get out of the break, boom, the ball's there. And doesn't have a cannon for an arm. He doesn't overwhelm you. He's got great anticipation, and he is a leader. He's fantastic. And 49ers fans, if they don't thank their lucky stars they have him, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm kind of tearing up here a little bit. Chad and I agree 100%. I'm just gonna go. No, and I agree with you there. And I've said this every year for the last 2 seasons of the Bottom Line. If you watch his film, and obviously I saw him playing with Iowa State as well, when you talk about anticipatory throwing the football, that's where his superpower is.
Yes.
It is. Does he have that huge arm? Nope. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you he does. But he has the
Is he going to run a 4.140? Nope.
No, but he eludes defensive linemen at times where you're like, whoa, how'd he get out of that? You know, he has that shiftiness and that ability, that kind of feel for, somebody's coming back here. I'm going to peel out the back door here. And is he the greatest of all time? No, I'm not sitting here and saying that. But how a guy who comes into the league, takes over like he does, and does the job that he did, just be so undervalued. It's like this. They talk about Jalen Hurts like this. He doesn't have to throw the football. He does what he needs to do to make Philadelphia successful. We're going to hand the ball off to Barkley. He's going to throw 15 passes a game, and that makes him a great quarterback. What do we hear about Brock Purdy? Oh, my God, he's surrounded by the Avengers. He's got talent everywhere. He can't help but be good. Okay, so give me the pads and a helmet, snap me the football, and the 49ers should be just as good. because you can't help but be good, right? I can throw a football. Come on. They're so good. All I should be able to do is just, hey, Debo. Oh, there's McCaffrey over there. It isn't that easy, folks.
No,
Right.
It's not that easy. And if you watch those timing, as Chad was talking about, you watch those timing throws, the ball is out of his hand and the guy goes like this, and the ball is there. Those are things that I've craved in Chicago for years, watching the throws and they're not on time.
Right.
It's a killer.
To your point, Eric, this also isn't the NBA where you can have a one-player dominant roster and still have a run at the playoff contention and the dance.
Yeah.
11 men on the field, 22 total makes a world of difference. And
yeah. Oh, hey, screw you, Troy Aikman. All you had to do was hand it off to Emmett and
behind the greatest offensive line in the history of football.
And throw it deep to number 88, Irvin.
Or Novacek.
Terrible. Oh, and throw in there Novacek and who's the other tight end? I mean,
Harper was the other wide receiver.
Right, but the other
he left. He was gone. He wasn't there for Aikman. Novacek was the tight end.
Okay. But we don't criticize Aikman for that. You know what I'm saying?
You know what they say? You know what they say about Aikman? The most accurate quarterback in the history of football, threw the greatest, most catchable ball. And what they say about Brock Purdy? He's trash. He's just getting it because of the rest of the team.
Yes.
You know what it comes down to for that, to y'all's point, and this is ironic because I didn't follow them religiously last season. But if they had as many injuries as y'all allude to, then it makes sense why they didn't make or struggled if they ever made the playoffs. That's the commonality in the pros now, is it's like the performance, whether or not it's truly applicable to that specific player, the quarterback gets the most praise or the most heat based on the team's performance. And
he doesn't get the praise when they're good, though.
Well, yeah, I'm saying to that point, like the reason they're struggling and then he's hated is because the fan base or the broader viewing audience is probably not, they're not seeing the 49ers be the 49ers they expect. So they blast, he just gets thrown in the crosshairs.
Yeah. But when they're winning,
he leads them to a Super Bowl and gives them a chance to win the thing, he's not good enough. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? Is I can remember watching an NFL films thing with Bill Walsh and some young quarterback, and he's trying to work with the kid. And the kid is just throwing every ball as hard as he absolutely can, just whipping it. And incompletion here, incompletion there, completion. He's just inconsistent and he's all over the place. He goes, he's trying to explain, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You're just going too fast. Everything just needs to slow down. Here, come over here. Brings in Joe Montana. Joe, and he goes, just watch Joe. Joe takes a snap from center, glides back. Guy hasn't even left the break yet. Throws the ball. Guy makes the break. Boom, it's right. Nice, easy, catchable ball. He's not. See how he's doing that? He's not firing it in there as hard as he can. He's just putting it in there. Joe Montana. Was he the strongest arm? No. Was he the best athlete? No. But he had a strong enough arm, and he was a good enough athlete, and he's the second greatest quarterback to ever lace up a pair of cleats.
I can't disagree with you. But why Brock?
You don't have to have the strongest arm. You don't have to be the biggest guy. You have to be smart, and you have to be good, and you have to be a leader. And he's all of those things, 100%. And they just shit on him. And I don't
all the time. KJ, buy or sell the 49ers in the playoffs, potentially the Super Bowl.
I mean, I would sell. I haven't. It's sad to say that I haven't seen many success stories with regards to and all these guys y'all mentioned that had injuries obviously aren't in the sophomore period, but whether it's a sophomore slump or, I think of Houston Texans players like Brian Cushing, the guys that have perennial injury problems don't just out of the blue stop having perennial injury problems. It just doesn't happen.
Well, Ayuk broke his leg. So that's kind of that isn't like a recurring knee thing or a
he's
recurring
only one of
shoulder
the
thing.
guys. Like Christian, as y'all stated,
McCaffrey is the one that
right. And I would say, as far off as the NFL has gone away from like your traditional ground and pound offense, the play action component obviously will forever have its place in the schematics of professional football and football in general. And I think without having him there, if he doesn't stay healthy, I don't even see them making the playoffs, let alone getting in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I didn't follow the based on their results they did last year, I guess. And that, like you said, if that's only on because of the injuries, that's a different story. But to go from very last all the way to the top in one season, that's a stretch in my opinion.
Washington Commanders, I guess we'll talk there. But
people would argue that was the weakest conference in the NFL, though.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you're the weakest, is what I'm saying. Though.
I am buying them for the playoffs, and I am a wait and see as a potential Super Bowl contender because of the injury, and not even the injury to anybody else, but McCaffrey. McCaffrey is just as important to the 49ers as Saquon Barkley is to the Eagles.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley gets hurt in week 2 this year. Guess what?
They're cooked.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because now Hurts has to throw the ball.
You know why?
More than 50.
Because he was the MVP of the league last year. He got screwed.
He did. You're right. Okay. Let's go to one of my favorite, and I know one of Chad's favorite people to talk about. Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's see where Sir Daddy Ed has the Steelers in his power rankings. Oh, there they are at 15. 15 he has them at. So below the halfway mark, Ed's way too early 2025 NFL power rankings have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 15. Do we believe that Aaron Rodgers, crazy, out there at times, has enough gas in the tank to make an impact with Pittsburgh, KJ? Do we really believe that?
I don't feel like the Steelers have much of a holistic roster to speak of, I guess, is what I would say to that point. I think you put Aaron Rodgers on a team like Ed would like hearing this, but I think it's an honest evaluation. Put Aaron Rodgers on a team like Minnesota, and then, we can have a conversation about what's their long-term competitive edge in their division. But
Wait, KJ. They don't need Aaron Rodgers.
I know.
If you look at the power rankings, they're in number 8.
That's my point, though. They have
don't they have a quarterback?
He could be average and be okay. Like
I'm telling you right now, it would have been laughable, and I was praying to the Lord, baby Jesus, for this to happen. That Aaron Rodgers went from the Jets to Minnesota.
Weren't we all?
We were all praying for that. Now, there's a part of me that also said, remember what happened last time. Now, I know Brett Favre cut the heart out of every single Minnesota fan when he threw the ball across his body and cost them a trip to the Super Bowl, but they were still good.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. You put Aaron Rodgers in that Viking lineup, and the Vikings are trouble. Now, Ed has pushed all of his chips from 50-some years of being a Minnesota fan on the J.J. McCarthy bandwagon.
Yep.
Everybody knows how I feel about that. Okay? Michigan, it's easy to hand the ball off. Didn't even throw a pass. Did not even attempt a pass in the second half against Penn State. Like, he was not asked to be a thrower of the ball. I'm not saying he didn't throw. He was not asked. That was not his main thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I don't think that Aaron being in Pittsburgh is going to be substantially boosted.
I don't think it makes a difference. Chad, what say you? I don't think him being in Pittsburgh does not make a difference for Pittsburgh.
He's also
in trouble.
I think go ahead, KJ, you finish your point.
My last statement, I guess, on it is, and I'm not dogging on him by any means. He's had a long and fruitful career, obviously, playing for as long as he had, and he's had his highlight moments. He's just cashing a check at this point. Like, he doesn't even present the aurora of, like, I truly have a passion for the game still, or that I fully give a damn, so to excuse my French, how the game is, you know what I mean? Like, week to week, like, he's going to go out there, put on his helmet, run the series, and, you know, if the guy didn't catch the ball, oh, well, walk off, sit on the bench, maybe look at the iPad once or twice a game, but, like, you know.
But the aura, to me, the air, like, when he was with Green Bay, every time they played the Bears, I'm like, something crazy is going to happen. He's going to he's going to trip.
That factor is lost, I think.
Yeah, he's going to trip, fall down on his ass, and throw a 50-yard pass for a completion that should never happen.
Right.
That was the aura that he had. Chad, I don't feel that anymore.
No, it's long gone.
No, well, first of all, I'm not denying how great of a player he was. He's a top 20 quarterback all time,
right?
Top 25. That's great. He just doesn't care. His arrogance has exceeded his ability as an old man.
Yeah, I would agree.
He delayed the signing with the Steelers for months and months and months so that he didn't have to do any of the spring preparatory stuff that you need to do, which was killing him in Green Bay those last few years and what killed him in the Jets last year. He's so busy wanting to go do his things that whatever he's going to go do, that's fine. You've made a bunch of money. Retire and go do all those silly things, but don't burden the team with your saying that you're all in. I don't think he's all in. I think the Steelers still have a chance to be a really good team. I think they have a chance to make the playoffs. I don't believe they're Super Bowl contenders. Now, I don't know. Have they signed Watt? Did they sign TJ Watt or not?
I guess I don't know. Right? I can look here quick.
But if they don't have TJ Watt, they're in trouble.
They had to re-sign him because JJ made that announcement about he was going to make his brother pay for every dinner going forward, and he wasn't going to pay for the bill because he got that big extension or re-sign.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. They paid him. Okay, that's good. He deserves it. I mean, say what you want. I still think Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the league. I think he's going to have a hard time holding Aaron Rodgers to account because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like to be held to account.
Right.
Everything is everybody else's fault and not his. Why he's always embarrassing receivers and offensive linemen, and he's always making gestures and carrying on. And I think they can make the playoffs. They're not a Super Bowl contender. They're not a real threat to anything. That's my personal opinion.
So I've got,
and I don't think he would have added anything in Minnesota. Minnesota is better off doing what they're doing than having signed Aaron Rodgers, so they can see that JJ McCarthy is a turd in a purple uniform, and so then they can go on and draft another quarterback next year.
Minnesota is getting karma for not keeping Case Keenum when they signed Kirk Cousins. That's my opinion. So I'm
just waiting for Ed to blow up the comment line.
My wrench comparison, a question I guess to leave with y'all would be: do you think the impact potential for a guy like Aaron Rodgers is higher in St. Louis, or not? Sorry, St. Louis, in Pittsburgh, excuse me, or for a guy like Russell Wilson in New York?
I think they're both. I think they're both sharks. It doesn't matter. You
have led into that's a perfect segue. I don't think you even knew you were doing it, but I would tell you, and I'm not going to use the same language that Chad used, but I agree with him in a sense that here I believe you have two guys in Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, that are living 10 years ago in older, broken down bodies. They are, to me, what Russell Wilson,
midlife crisis.
well, Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are preying on the fact that teams are so desperate for quarterbacks. They're so desperate
Right.
for that flash.
They're playing the Stephon Diggs game of the quarterback position. Basically.
Yes, they're so desperate to find a quarterback to get them here, there, wherever they want to go.
Right.
That a guy like Russell Wilson still has a job. A guy like Aaron Rodgers still has a job. He looked last year slower than me. And that's slow. So guys like Wilson who had success in the past, albeit early, and Russell was still a good quarterback, but his success was early. You know, Rodgers winning a Super Bowl and having a lot longer success, I would say, in Green Bay, are now, to me, beyond their twilight years, but they're still able to prey on a league that is so desperate at the quarterback position. There are teams that are desperate.
Because there are teams that look at Tampa and go, okay, well, they went and got old man Tom Brady and they won a Super Bowl. Guess what? Tom Brady is a one of one.
Yes, that's right.
Aaron Rodgers ain't no Tom Brady. He can't carry Tom Brady's jock strap. Right. Russell Wilson, same. He can't even pick up. He can't even look at Tom Brady's jockstrap. That's how much farther down he is.
Yes.
Although Russell Wilson's wife, Sierra, is incredible. So I will give him that.
But
she's amazing. But no, it's Russell Wilson is a bridge. Russell Wilson is, we're going to start the season with Russell Wilson. He's going to be our quarterback week 5, 6, whatever it is, when they're just dog crap, just terrible, and then Dart comes in and plays, and then the coaching staff gets fired at the end of the season, and then they start the Chicago Bear method, where they have a new GM, they have a new coaching staff, now they have a quarterback that they're not tied to, they're not committed to, then they ruin that kid, then they draft somebody else, and then that coaching staff then the next year gets fired, and it's a horrible, ugly cycle, and they have entered it. And this is where they are.
Yes, unfortunately, because I wouldn't wish that on any team.
I wouldn't either. It's a horrible experience.
As Bears fans, we know it all too well. But that's a great segment. And I think Dart is the kid. I think he's going to be the man in
really?
New York. No, I meant their starter. I'm not saying he's going to be greater. What I'm saying is I just can't see Russell Wilson holding on to that job. I just can't.
You know what I think? You know what I think Jackson Dart is? Jackson Dart is not Shedeur Sanders. That's what Jackson Dart is. Well, Shedeur had this terrible interview, so I guess we're taking Jackson Dart.
I would say terrible is probably.
We have to draft a quarterback.
Right.
And maybe.
Wah, wah.
But that takes me back to the desperation. I mean, Cleveland is paying a guy who he'll probably never play again. Who knows? And they got 4 other quarterbacks on their roster. You've got these teams. I mean, to me, the Steelers are taking a flyer on Rodgers. New York's taking a flyer on Wilson. I mean, Cleveland's going to lead with Flacco. I mean, these guys, Flacco's my age. These guys are up there. You know what I'm saying?
The Cleveland Browns are the metaphoric, like, suburban household family that has taken out their 4th HELOC on their original home mortgage to try to pay it off.
Yes. And it's like, so to me, the desperation at the quarterback is what creates the situations that we're talking about right now.
Right, for sure.
It is the most important position, I don't think just in American sports. I think in sports. I don't know anything about cricket, but I guarantee you having a quarterback that's really good is much more important than having the guy who throws the ball and tries to knock the sticks over behind the guy with the flat bat.
Right.
I guarantee you it's more important.
If you can't name the sport, it's automatically.
Well, and I would say this, and I agree with you 100% as far as the quarterback. I mean, a really good starting pitcher is good for that day.
Yeah.
He doesn't come out tomorrow. He doesn't come out the
for
next
5
day.
days.
Comes out in 5 more days, and then he's the man again. A quarterback is out there every single week, having to do all these things that we talk about. So I guess it just bleeds that desperation of these teams, and and Wilson and Rodgers. I don't think Flacco is preying on Cleveland. I mean, he got pulled off. He was mowing his yard when he got the call. Like, he was done.
Yeah.
But I feel like a Wilson that just keeps jumping and hanging on, and a Rodgers that just keeps jumping now and hanging on. I think they're preying on a league that's desperate for quarterbacks.
I think Flacco. I think the difference between Flacco and Rodgers and Wilson is Flacco loves the game.
Right.
He loves to play. He loves to compete. Wilson and Rodgers love the limelight. They love the notoriety. They love their name in all over the TV, the radio, all over the internet. Flacco never got that when he was young and good.
Right.
So he doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
He loves the game and wants to play the game, get everything out of it before he walks away. I respect that. I respect him much more now than I did when he was good and with Baltimore.
Stepped away, though. He stepped away. He was done. He got the call, I think, to come back or come to Cleveland. He was like mowing his yard or something. You know what I mean? Like,
what's he supposed to do? I mean, he's not going to go get on a plane and fly city to city going.
It is interesting. It is interesting to note, though. Y'all bring up the point of these guys just capitalizing on teams' desperations. Like, the question I would ask is the wherewithal or awareness of the fact that we had previous eras where the journeyman quarterback was properly utilized across multiple teams in the league. Do you think that's less so true now? Because, I mean, to that point, I would argue, like, and Chicago's, we speak on Chicago, like, I'm sure there's a reason they chose to take Case up there. But, I mean, like, he's somebody I would argue, and I'm speaking from bias, of course, but still, that I would argue, I think he could present better results than the two guys you're talking about who maybe are just doing it to do it, and they're riding the brand power of their name.
I mean, the reason you sign a guy like Case Keenum is that he's a veteran presence in the film room, in the quarterback room, and he is more like a coach. He is trying to teach these guys this offense. He's trying. If in case you don't know what all went on in Chicago last year, but nobody told Caleb how to watch film. Nobody gave him anything to watch film. The coaches never watched film with him. They can't even spell film. So he needs to learn how to do those things, not to take this back to, sorry, audience, to the Bears and the NFC North again. But I mean, that's why you sign a guy like Case Keenum. That's why what's the McCown. That's why he went from team to team. Right. And who was the Missouri kid? Chase Daniel was on so many teams because that's what they brought. And I know what you're saying is you think Case Keenum can go and win more games in New York,
right? Just like you see
win more
games
in Pittsburgh,
or whatever, I guess in the same time.
Then Aaron or him, he can, because he's not sexy.
No, I will give Ed a plug because I feel the same way that he does. Do you know why when a quarterback gets hurt on a team and a Chase Daniels comes in or Case Keenum or whoever it is?
Patrick's the other one I could think of.
Yeah. And they come in and they have success because nobody knows about them. But guess what? By about the third or fourth game, guess what happens to Chase Daniels?
Well, Chase Daniels is a really bad comparison because he's like 0-7 as a starter. But he came in and filled in some games. He's Games
has arguably done well. Fitz has an amazing
Case Keenum won some games.
Yes.
Case Keenum did some work. Fitzpatrick did some work. He won games.
Right. I mean, but Fitzmagic, he's got a mind.
But Fitzpatrick isn't good in that role though either, because Fitzpatrick realizes I can win more games than this kid. I can do more than this kid. And it's true to an extent, but like Eric said, the wax wears off that paper pretty quick.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, it's a shit show.
Yeah.
And it's
and now you're like, ooh, this ain't the guy that I was rooting for 2 games ago.
Yeah, that's why those guys, like, what's the guy in Dallas that comes in when every year when the quarterback gets hurt, and he goes in, he wins 2 or 3 games, loses 1 game, maybe 2.
Right.
That's the way that they're a backup quarterback for a reason. And nobody wants a quality backup who can win, because Peyton Manning didn't want one, because he didn't want anybody threatening his job, and his job was in no way.
No, I'm not opposed to that. It's more of, I guess, like Russell Wilson. I can see he's at least, despite inconsistencies, has maintained a healthiness to him. If you look at Aaron Rodgers and I look at last season, you got to be kidding me if any team would have the stupid mindset to even consider signing him. It's like, this guy got injured week 1, and I'm going to even consider paying his desired salary when I can take a quasi journeyman and have the same results, if not a higher likelihood of healthiness.
You got to give Rod. He threw 30 touchdown passes last year. He threw 30. You got to give him that.
I'll give him that.
He threw not many guys threw 30 touchdown passes last year.
I'm probably getting my seasons
at age 45 or
his jet injury when he went
whatever he is. No, he isn't quite that old. That's Flacco, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers has to be, what is he, 41?
Oh, he's older than that.
Is he?
No, he's post 40. I don't know what exact year.
Aaron Rodgers is
42 maybe now.
41.
41.
Oh, you're right.
But I think Flacco's 45, 46, which is just about my age. Anyway, since we have heard the Bears a couple times here, let's look at the rumblings out of Bears camp. Chad, would you like to have you heard any rumblings out of Bears camp?
Yes. The coaches are holding people to account.
Mm-hmm.
The coaches are demanding you do what they tell you to do. They're demanding that Caleb call plays, he get under center, he learns how to be a quarterback, because nobody taught him how to be a quarterback last year. And in college, you really don't need to do any of those things.
Back and shotgun and throw it all over the place. That's
and we'll hold up signs with ducks and penguins on them, and it tells you what play they're on.
Yes, I love it.
So, I mean, that's the extent of it. So the entire team complained in the offseason before they hired Ben Johnson. They wanted discipline, and they wanted to be coached, and they wanted to be coached hard. And guess what? That's what's fucking happening.
Yes, that's
They're
Ben
getting
Johnson's
exactly
MO.
what they asked for.
Yeah. And a man that comes to the podium, they all say the same thing. They're coaching us hard, and that's what we want.
Yep. And that's okay. That Caleb screws up, does the wrong thing, address it. Don't let it go. He's not going to learn to do it right.
Yeah.
Now you got to coach it. You can't be super negative about it, like everybody knows. You can't just say, "You're an idiot. You're stupid. You suck.
Get off the field
that way, you dummy."
Yeah.
No, they go like, what'd you make that decision for? What were you seeing that you thought that was going to be a good decision?
Yeah. What I love about it, what I love about this as a Bears fan is if there were a bunch of other guys coming to the podium, this guy got chewed, whatever, and it wasn't Caleb Williams, I would be more worried about it. Because they're clearly, and I don't know how many games you watch KJ, but I watched every one of them. There were clearly things that he wasn't doing. He was getting himself in trouble, trying to scramble too much away from guys that run 4.4s that weigh 300 pounds. Like, you can't do that. You got to stand up, move up in the pocket, deliver the ball, throw it away, whatever the case may be. If I'd have heard that Ben Johnson was yelling at a lot of guys, and there wasn't a couple times where it's like, we threw Caleb Williams and the first team offense off the field. If I wouldn't hear that, I'd be worried. I'm not worried. That doesn't make me think, oh, he's not going to be able to do it. That makes me think Ben Johnson is making him do the things he wants him to do. And if he's not going to do it, get out.
Ben Johnson is teaching him. Ben Johnson took a guy who did not know that the sun rose in the east and got him to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So he is pushing Caleb Williams, not only physically, but mentally. He's like, I'm giving him everything all at once. This is the most pressured. We just went over this. This is the most important, pressured, intense position in all of sports. And you don't have to just be physically good. You got to be mentally good, and you got to be mentally tough. And everybody knows young people nowadays, mentally tough, not one of their strong suits. So you've got to teach them how to get there and how to be mentally tough. If you're going to lead this team, if you're going to take us to where we want to go, we need you not just to be good, we need you to be a leader. Well, and so that's what they're doing. I'm good with it.
And that's the point I get to, where all these guys, and KJ, if you disagree, step in. I would say all the guys in the NFL now are way better athletes than NFL players 20, 30 years ago. But you know what those NFL players 20 or 30 years ago had? Mental toughness. They wouldn't break. They would run themselves through a brick wall, played hurt, played anything.
Talent versus true, like, athletic prowess.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
It's nutrition. It's
nutrition.
It's
you watch old baseball players sipping on coffee and smoking a heater in the dugout. Like, listen, the nutrition of the guys today is way better. But what I'm getting at is you even see it in the high schools. When I played high school football, we were all big guys. I mean, we had guys, plenty of guys over 6 foot, 6'7", 6'4", 6'3", whatever. But we weren't walking around with freaking jack six packs and, we all had jobs. We were working. We were strong because we baled hay. We shelled corn. We did all the stuff on farms. You watch kids nowadays walk around, and I have.
You only drank water when the coach gave you permission to drink water.
Yeah. But now you watch these kids walk around, and it's like, holy buckets, man. These freaking kids are built different. But you know what? I would take our high school senior team over a lot of our junior team, name your year, over a lot of these guys because, we may not look the part. We're going to play the part just a little bit different than you.
That's because the quarterbacks back in the day were having to throw with shoulder pads that were meant for the linebacker.
When you see those old films,
it's a natural good challenge to have as a QB.
Everybody had the neck rolls.
Yeah, they had to throw like this
to run down the field.
They got to throw the football like this. Okay. I'm trying to decide. I think I want to end this on this before we get to the power rankings because we're getting really long on time here. It's 9:58. So I don't know if I'm doing this because I'm actually serious or if I'm doing this because it's just who they are or I just want to laugh. I don't know. Can the Cowboys win a Super Bowl? Chad? Can they?
They can. After Jerry Jones has passed away and his son Steven has signed over control to somebody else, they can win a Super Bowl. I'm not dismissing the great things that Jerry Jones has not only done for the Cowboys, but for the league.
Right.
He also has done horrible things for the Cowboys and the league, mainly for the Cowboys.
He's a quasi Vince McMahon with an over micromanaging arm. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I mean, it's the only team in the NFL that I know that
looks like Skeletor.
Well, that after every game, the GM gives a press conference.
Yeah.
They still sell internationally like they're not.
I mean, it blows my mind. And so I'll ask you, KJ, do you think that they haven't signed Parsons yet because they intend not to? Or do you think that they're dragging this out because it just kind of keeps Dallas in the media. Because I heard that question presented to the youngest.
I wouldn't put anything past the team. I don't know the specifics on their salary cap space versus what he's wanting in terms of a signing contract. So that would be the differentiator, or the, I think, thing that would make it.
Here's what happened, KJ. So Jerry and Micah were together earlier this spring, late winter.
I remember they got into it or something, I thought, but
no, they agreed on a handshake deal about money.
Okay.
Years. Okay. Did the Cowboys then contact his representation and get the deal done? No. They waited. And then other defensive players get signed for huge money.
Mm-hmm.
So now they still expect him to take the contract that was offered him months ago, when in reality, they now have to give him more. It's the same thing they did with Dak. It's the same thing they did with CD Lamb. They waited too long to sign these guys, and then they had to pay him more than they would have paid him if they had paid him earlier.
Yep.
They just would have paid him 3 months ago. They wouldn't be looking at this money situation if they'd paid Dak,
sounds like somebody in the back of the house for not filling out contracts fast enough.
They wouldn't be paying that guy $60 million a year like an idiot.
Right.
My thought process, and this is why I feel like Dallas is so far away from a Super Bowl.
Oh, they're a long ways.
They have overpaid Dak Prescott.
Oh, obnoxiously so.
Infinitely.
Obnoxiously so. I would take CD Lamb as a receiver. I think he's a great receiver and worth the money. Fine. Micah Parsons. I would take Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is worth whatever contract he's going to get. But those 3 contracts are going to hamstring Dallas, particularly at the quarterback position, for a while. And when it comes to bad contracts, man, they are very tough to get away from.
Yeah.
When you talk about caps and all those types of things, like eventually it's going to catch you. Eventually it's going to, and I think Dallas is just, I don't see them again. Maybe they win 10, 11 games. Okay. But they're going to flame out into the playoffs like they do every single year. And it's going to be right back to Jerry Jones saying, we're disappointed, but we're going to relook at things, and we're going to relook at what? You're going to do the same thing you did last year and the year before that and the year before that. And it's not going to change for Dallas.
The reality of the Micah Parsons situation is this. He's in his last year. He's in his 5th. This is his 5th year option.
Right.
He is quite possibly the best defensive player in the league. Quite possibly linebacker in up there with Lawrence Taylor and all in those elite players. His athleticism, his ability to impact games is unbelievable. What they need to do is trade him because they can't sign him.
I don't think they can now.
I think they can. They can trade him.
No, I don't think they can sign him now, because that will give you a 3-legged stool of contracts that are going to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they have to trade him.
I agree.
They have to trade him.
Yes.
They can't sign him. Just like the Bengals. The Bengals gave the Bengals gave Higgins all that money, and now they can't sign Hendricks because they paid their second wide receiver an obnoxious amount of money, which was stupid. And now they can't sign the best defensive end in the league. They can't.
And they're still going to have to outscore everybody 42-41. Score 41 points and get beat.
What they can do, the Cowboys, is they can trade Micah Parsons and get a haul of picks and some players, or players and a few picks, whatever it is. But they can't sign him. They can't.
No, I think that ship has sailed.
Because they're screwed if they sign.
Yes.
They have him for this year.
Yeah.
and they get the 5th-year option. He jumps up to like 25 million with the 5th-year option this year. And then at the end of the season, if they want, they can franchise him, of course, but you're just going to be paying him a crap ton of money. You can't pay him.
Yeah. You disagree,
so they've
KJ?
shot themselves in the foot.
No.
Jerry Jones's bizarre love and loyalty, which I appreciate for certain players, is just screwed him over.
Yeah.
I think Chase is on point to say it's like a two-fold or two-headed monster in Dallas, and that you need a less interfering owner, and you also need I'd say extensive rehaul of the current roster in order to kind of just reestablish a new atmosphere across that team for them to re-enter the fold of competitiveness from a postseason perspective.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's like I said, the Cowboys are a mess. They continue to be a mess, and nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
We won't stop talking about it.
Yes, but we keep talking about them.
Yes, of course.
The last thing, I'm going to pop it up here because I'm sure Daddy Ed is still hanging on here. As I've popped them up here a couple times, here is his way too early 2025 rankings. Chad, I'm going to let you go first as you visually get to see this smorgasbord of rankings. What is one thing that pops up to you where Daddy Ed is so wrong?
Well, I'm probably going to go someplace that you're not expecting. First, for the audience out there, just so you know, this is the kind of Bears fan I am. 18's way too high. They should be at like 28 or 29. Okay. But if you're going to rank this in who has a chance to win a Super Bowl, then I'm going to tell you 2 and 3 are unrealistic. The Bills and the Ravens are not. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have a really good season. They're going to have good seasons, but they're not. They have zero chance of winning the Super Bowl. They might get there, but they're not going to win. Both of them, and if the people who have watched last year and heard me say this stat almost every single week, when a coach-quarterback combo does not win a Super Bowl in their first 5 seasons together in the history of the NFL, they will not win a Super Bowl, period. McDermott and Allen have been together 8 years. Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson have been together 8 years. They're not winning Super Bowls together. The coaches have got to go. I said this at the end of last year. Harbaugh's an excellent coach. He's very, very good. He just needs to go do that someplace else if they want to win a Super Bowl and bring somebody else in. McDermott, I don't know. He might be a good coach, but he needs to go because they're not going to win a Super Bowl as they are currently put together. That's history. Try and beat history. It's not very easy. You can be the first at something, but it takes a lot to be the first, and I don't see those teams as being special enough to break that trend. I could be wrong. We'll see, but I wouldn't bet on either of those two teams to win the Super Bowl. So for me, I would not have these teams. If you're realistically, who has a chance to win the Super Bowl this year? I think those two teams are far down the list. The Eagles, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Redskins, the Rams even. I think those are the only realistic chances of winning a Super Bowl. Outside of that, I don't have faith in anybody else. I don't think anybody else can do it.
KJ?
I wouldn't say I disagree with his premise statement in terms of like glaring deficiencies or horribly incorrect seedings. I don't know if there really is any. I'll give Chase, to his point. You could argue based on
Chad.
I'm sorry. What he said with Baltimore and Buffalo, I think makes a lot of sense. Maybe you move them down to like 4 and 5, respectfully, or 3 and 4, excuse me, instead of 2 and 3, because of your top 2 teams being the ones that would, statistically speaking, be in the Super Bowl. Trying to think. I'm more looking, I guess, at the lower guys, lower half of the league going, is there a dark horse that somebody's not giving enough credence to? But I don't even know if I see that there.
Well, really. I look at it like this. To me, I'm totally okay with the Eagles. I mean, you win. That's where you're coming back at.
I think to your point, you touched on all the injuries. I would say the biggest glaring one that seems seated too low is San Francisco. That's in a perfect world, assuming there's no injuries.
For sure. And I do think one of the dark horse AFC teams, because obviously there has to be an AFC team in the Super Bowl. Right. If it's not going to be, if Buffalo and Baltimore can't win, as Chad said, and
I think the Bengals are rated way too high, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
I'm a huge Burrow fan, but they haven't even, as far as I know, made any significant gains this offseason. They've actually had losses.
The defense is just not,
and
it's not there. It's not
with
there.
respect to how they did last season. It's like to expect them to do any better or even make the playoffs, I think is quite honestly laughable.
And so I like number one. Chad's right about 2 and 3, but again, as far as AFC teams go, I would say they're probably the top 2 AFC teams. I would probably have the Lions a little higher, until they prove me different. Yeah. Washington, you could easily flip 4 and 5 to 2 and 3, and then have 2 and 3, 4 and 5, and I don't think you could argue that way. Right. I think Kansas City, even though you can't ever discount Patrick Mahomes, I think they're in trouble. Will they still be there? Potentially, but I think they're in trouble. Watch out for LA, but also a healthy San Francisco. San Francisco stays healthy, they're not going to be the 16th best team. I think you talk about a dark horse maybe in the top 15. The Chargers. I believe in Harbaugh as a coach, and I think Justin Herbert is a far better quarterback than he gets credit for.
Really?
I do. I really do.
Texans are the glaring dark horse.
I think he's one of the most overrated players in the NFL.
But see, I don't see him as being overrated because he's not really one of those guys. When they talk about quarterbacks, who do they go to? They go to Mahomes.
Are you kidding me?
They go to Lamar Jackson. Herbert is behind Burrow, Lamar, Allen, Mahomes. I don't look at, if you say Herbert is a top 10 quarterback in the AFC. Okay, I think he's top 5. I think he's 5 probably in the AFC, which might put him 8, 9, or 10 overall. But I'm telling you, watch out for the Chargers. They're going to make some noise. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm just saying in the AFC they're going to make some noise. So a lot of these, Tampa Bay could make some noise. So 14 has them about right. Denver, I really like Denver. I don't know if they're 10. We'll see how his sophomore season goes. But Knicks is definitely proved last year. I got we didn't get that loaded. Sorry, Ed, we did not get that loaded between the Manning and the Herbert comparison. But if you look at Manning through the playoffs in his first 5 seasons, Justin Herbert's right there with Manning. And I think with Jim Harbaugh, that is going to make him even better. My glaring one, and I don't disagree with a lot of these, like I said, the dark horse in the back half, whatever it might be, is number 8. When I saw this right away, I gave Ed a lot of static as I'm circling number 8, even though you can't see it. That is my biggest glare. And the reason I say that is we don't know anything about J.J. McCarthy, and maybe he comes in and he shocks us all, and we're like, man, Minnesota's loaded. But are they going to do to J.J. McCarthy what they did to Brock Purdy in San Francisco? Are they going to say, well, geez, he's got Hawkinson, he's got Jefferson, he's got all these guys around him. He's not that good. He can't help but be good because he's got all these guys around him. I doubt it. But McCarthy, J.J. McCarthy, I just don't think.
Here's the thing about McCarthy. And I have a friend, really good friend, besides Ed, who's a big Viking fan. And we were talking about it. And he goes, well, he had that whole year. He got to sit there and watch and in the film room. And I go, no, he was not. When you're injured and you're on IR, you're not in the meeting rooms. You're not in the film rooms with the other quarterbacks. You're rehabbing. You're doing all of that. You're not with the team. You are not doing those things. So he didn't even get to study. He didn't get to learn. He didn't get to sit in the meeting room last year. He didn't get how to digest and do all that. He was rehabbing. He was getting physically better. He was doing all of that. He's like, no, that's not the way it works. I go, the hell it's not.
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. I said, you watch interviews with players when they talk about what was the worst part about being injured and being in rehab. They said, you're not connected to the team. You don't see the team. You don't see the guys. All your work is done when they're not around.
Yep. So
he is not in those meeting rooms. So that everybody to think that, well, it was just a rookie season where he just sat. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That's not how that works.
Right.
So he's got to go through all the growing pains of a rookie quarterback. And, if he leads them to be the 8th best team in the NFL, God bless him. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either.
I don't think it's going to happen.
So, yeah, like I said, I have zero problem with the power rankings, even though I give Ed a lot of static, other than number 8. I mean, for the same reasons that you could say, well, I have the Bears at 18 or, whoever, because they got to prove it. Well, the Vikings proved that they were a good team last year, but J.J. McCarthy was not the quarterback. And we've talked all show long about how important the quarterback is. So my biggest glaring, I can live with everything else on here. But number 8, I just don't think the Vikings sit at number 8. So I gave Ed all sorts of static for being a homer for putting Minnesota in the top 10. But time will tell. Time will definitely tell. And time is telling me, boys, that we are out of it. And if I'm not mistaken, 10-17 would be almost as early as Ed has ever ended a show before. Mm-hmm. So I got to make sure and get that in. So if you stuck with us through the entire show, we thank you. Let me pop this up here real quick before I forget. You can catch us on YouTube, X, and Facebook. We appreciate any comments. We try to get as many comments up on the board as we can throughout the show. Start of season 3 is on, boys. The grind starts right now. And hopefully Big Daddy Ed gets better. He can be on here so we can at least insult him to his face, not just on the sidelines watching us do it.
It's kind of fun doing it this way.
It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. I mean, so I'm sure he's already preparing his comebacks when he's back on the show. So
I'm not too worried about that.
No, me neither. So without further ado, see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, as we have been for 2 seasons now. Take care. See you next week.
And that's the bottom line.